Elias Monage. Thank you very much, Elias, for joining us. Now, we know that businesses have really struggled for the past couple of years. First, of course, with the impacts of coronavirus. And then now, of course, it really seems as though these power cuts by Eskom are going to be the final death knell for companies.
Yeah, thanks to you and the listeners. I think one of the major problems that we are faced with, we cannot continue as business to continue taking a strain on Eskom incompetency and lack of preparing for maintenance. Secondly, businesses, they continue to suffer because of Eskom problems. Now, week in, week out, we have a problem in terms of load shedding, and it's difficult for businesses then to operate, let alone most of the business that they don't have deep pockets, they've closed down as a result of a lack of sustainable energy from Eskom's side. The third part of the problem is that in an event where we just on the recovery plan we are not even close to the recovery plan as a result of the pandemic, but we continue then to have a problem of the disruption from Eskom. And that put more severe constraints and pressure to the economy, because we cannot even talk about the recovery plan in the absence of a sustainable energy coming from Eskom. And I think these are some of the issues that government must move with speed in terms of dealing with this matter. If not, I can tell you now, most companies are going to close down. Most companies are going to lay off workers as a result of this major problem that we're faced with. And I think from the Black Business Council point of view, we want to have an agent meeting with both the Minister of Public Enterprise and Minister of Energy to deal with these matters once and for all, because we cannot continue week in, week out, where companies are facing a major problem, let alone the small businesses and the big ones. They have a major problem. Whether you run a steel mill plant, you run a foundry, you run a plastic converters, you run a small restaurant, you run your own car wash, you cannot basically then provide to our customers with any services. And that's a major problem. We just came from another week of load shedding, and we are going again for another week of load shedding.
Mr. Monage, let me just jump in there quickly and ask you the question. You touched on the issue of speed, that government needs to really sort this matter out with urgency. We're always told about, renewable energy and, requests for bidders and all the rest of it. Do you think that these processes have been too slow?
No, those processes are too slow. The problem with Eskom is the maintenance schedule. If Eskom, for the past 5-10 years, they didn't have any maintenance plan in place. It's a major problem, and they continue to, week in, week out, they're raising issues on excuses to say, we have a problem with the maintenance, we have a problem with the boilers, we have a problem with, if it's not a boiler, it's something else. If it's not something else, it's the cold. If it's cold, it's not wet, it's the rain. So it's a multiple facet issue that we're dealing with, and this is a sheer incompetency of Eskom management. And surely, if it means the CEO must basically then vacate his position, that must be the case, because as an industry, we cannot then continue to suffer where the economy is supposed then to recover. We are not even talking about the recovery plan, because you cannot even provide a basic energy to various sectors and industries.
Yeah, of course, leadership is important, but of course, Eskom has had so many leaders in the past number of years. And, one does wonder if changing, the person at the helm really is going to make a difference, because it doesn't matter how many leaders it has, it just hasn't seemed to be steering in the right direction.
No, I don't think so. Everything starts with leadership. The fish rot from the head. Leadership that is decisive, that can take action, that can provide direction to the troops is what is required under the current economic conditions. You cannot talk about the recovery plan in the absence of a sustainable energy across the sectors. Secondly, in the absence of a leadership, again, we'll then continue to have this major problem in terms of load shedding week in, week out. And then I think the sooner we then take this matter head on in terms of having competent people at the leadership level that they can take decisive decisions and actions. It then becomes much easier.
Mr. Monage, very quickly, do you not think part of the problem is that the people who are at the helm are not driving a small car? They're driving an absolute giant, and also it's not for the fact that you know, they can't make decisions on their own. They always have so many stakeholders to confer with. Do you think that perhaps they would have more agility if they didn't have to worry about reporting to government and so on and so forth?
No. I don't think so. I mean, we hate then to compare people. I mean, if we were then to compare during the era of Brian Molefe, he did manage then to stabilize the energy in the country. And you cannot then tell me that when Molefe was running this thing, he came in, stabilized the energy in the country. It's the same Eskom that we have today. And we then had, the late Chair, Jabu Mabuza, may his rest in peace. He did manage then to do this thing again. He failed, he came with excuses. And now we then have the current Andrea. And Andrea is failing dismally in terms of this thing. Again, it's not about how big is this thing. It's about decisive leadership, understanding, taking your troops with. And I'm saying the current CEO is failing dismally in terms of dealing with this thing. Yeah, you cannot run any business where energy is not sustainable. Week in, week out. Every day, every week, we have a problem and we have excuses. It can't be. We need leadership that is decisive, that can take action and then move everyone across. Yeah.
Mr. Monage, hopefully the government is listening to you and you're going to get that meeting that you're looking to have with the DPE. But thank you very much for talking to us. That was Mr. Elias Monage. He's the president of the Black Business Council.